Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks to everyone that's joined so far. I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes. I'm conscious that we're kind of coming in either on people's lunch breaks or just off the back of. So we'll give it just a couple more minutes and then we will get started. Okay, I think that number's looking fairly static now. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to everyone that's joined the Modern Workplace session this afternoon. My name's Chloe Chapman. I am one of the Microsoft licensing commercial executives here at Bytes. Just to cover a couple of housekeeping points before we get started. So today's session will be recorded and we will be sending a copy of the slides out to everyone that attends in case that's of use to you. But yeah, I think everyone's on listen only mode at the moment, but at the end there will be an opportunity to ask any questions that you have. I've included my email address at the bottom here on this first slide, but it will be kind of up on screen at the end as well, in case you want to contact me with any kind of more in-depth questions, as they tend to be in this area of the tech. So today we've obviously got a number of sessions running. So I've just included an agenda of that in case you weren't aware of any of those. There will be recordings of all of them, of course, but for the rest of them on the remainder of today, you can still register for those if they're relevant to you at the moment. So here's an overview of the agenda for today's session. I will be covering for you hopefully enough detail to give you an overview of the licensing structure. But if you would like to take a deeper dive into any of these topics, then we can, of course, look to set up a call to look at your requirement in further detail. So first of all, what is the modern workplace? So Microsoft's vision for the modern workplace is one where all employees can effectively and securely collaborate with each other so that we're all able to do our best work from anywhere while making sure well-being is not something that's just an afterthought. The products that we're looking at today address some of those challenges we all have with successful remote working. But firstly, let's take a look at all of the plans that are currently available that we would purchase those through. So starting with Office 365, it's a cloud services platform that offers the familiar products like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneDrive. It also includes the online versions of Exchange, SharePoint, and other collaboration applications such as Teams and Yammer, as well as a number of other tools and features depending on the particular plan. Here we can see the E3 and E5 plans as an example. The most notable additions when comparing the two are Power BI, Teams Phone, Defender for Office 365, and also the bulk of the compliance products when you move up into that E5 suite there. Now, prior to Office 365, just to clear up any confusion, some of you may remember Office 365 Pro Plus, which was the suite with the online versions of the Office apps in a subscription. This was renamed in 2020 to Apps for Enterprise and can be purchased separately, but forms part of the complete Office 365 plan as well. Then we have Microsoft 365 or M365, the all-in-one bundle that includes Office 365, but also Windows Enterprise or Business, and Enterprise Mobility and Security, which includes Intune and also Azure Active Directory Premium. This plan provides a complete integrated cloud service, all in one user subscription. I've included an example here of how this looks all together with a breakdown of the individual products using an image of probably the most well-known Microsoft 365 Plan E3. Most of the session today, I'll be referring to the Office side of the diagram in red, since the products are mostly included here in part or require it as a prerequisite in some capacity. There are some M365 plans to cover 2 levels of user, E3 and E5, and you will notice that Office 365 has an E1 option, which is for users that only need mobile apps rather than desktop. There are also some frontline worker plans. So there's F1, F3, F5 security and compliance add-ons. There's a load of plans here and ways to buy them in their component parts too. This allows for businesses to adopt the cloud service model gradually. Most of the products are also available individually, as well as the breakdown of the plans. So you can see on the second row, there's also a set of plans named M365 Business, which are aimed at offering small and mid-sized organizations a set of products and features that are suitable and at a more accessible price point than the enterprise plans. This snapshot here is taken from a plan comparison document, which they're actually really useful reference points when you're trying to consider how to profile your users. So if you would like a full copy of one of these, then that's obviously something that I can send you following the session. So if you'd like to drop your account manager or myself an email, I can send that over to you after this. So firstly, just looking at a few key considerations. So we're going to keep it really high level and kind of not go into too much depth in case it's not relevant for everyone. So the frontline worker plans are there to cater for users that don't sit at a laptop or PC full-time as an office worker might, but might still require use of some of the online services. So there are 3 plans for frontline workers, excluding the add-ons like the F5 security. There's Office 365 F3, M365 F1 and F3. An organization would choose an F1 license for a user who needs to have very limited functionality, for example, read-only access to documents and a calendar, but no mailbox. An Exchange Online Plan 1 license can be added though to this if that's a requirement. F3, on the other hand, has Exchange and SharePoint Online kiosk versions, so with the smaller mailbox and more limited functionality. It also includes EMS E3 and also Windows 10 Enterprise. The most important thing to remember, though, for F3 is that it's only suitable for people that have either a single screen integrated in their primary device that's smaller than 10.1 inches, or if they share their primary work device with other frontline workers. So obviously, if they share their device, the 10.1 inch screen restriction is removed, but it has to be one or the other to qualify for those plans. As you can see, other than the restrictions we've discussed, M365 E3 looks very similar to the products we saw in E3. And this so that the users can still benefit from the security and management functionality offered to enterprise users, but without paying for unnecessary features that they won't need. Next, we'll take a little look at the difference with the M365 business plans. So anything with the word business in is generally aimed at small to medium-sized businesses, since they're each limited to 300 users per plan. So for this reason, they aren't available in an EA, which is aimed at companies with over 500 users. If a company just needs their users to access browser-based apps with online services like Exchange Online or Teams, they might consider Business Basic. But if they want to be able to install the Office apps, then they would choose Business Standard. M365 Business Premium follows the familiar structure we've seen across the other plans, including adding on security tools and services, including Intune, as well as Windows 10 Business. We'll leave that there for today with the plans, as it's not a one-size-fits-all topic, but if you'd like any assistance profiling your users, then it's something that we can arrange with you following the call. So let's have a look at some of the products. Our reliance on technology to collaborate as a remote workforce has obviously spiked over the past few years, and Teams has evolved to offer this with a secure integrated workspace. A growing number of applications can now integrate within the Teams workspace, and that avoids you having to switch between different platforms and removes the barriers to collaborate as much as possible. So let's run through some of the Teams related services that are available. Up until March this year, audio conferencing was offered as a separate paid-for add-on product to Teams or part of an E5 plan. And its purpose was to allow people to join Teams meetings with a traditional telephone. An audio conferencing license would have been purchased to allow users to do three things: to be able to send out a meeting request with a dial-in number, to include a toll-free dial-in number to their meeting request, and to dial out during a meeting to invite other callers in. Where an organizer wants to provide a toll-free number in a meeting request, this is paid for by communications credits. Now that audio conferencing is offered free of charge to allow unlimited dial-in as part of the price of Teams, the next element we should discuss will be phone system. So the phone system license, which has this year been renamed Teams Phone, is a user subscription license. It's an add-on to Teams as a prerequisite, and the plans are on the right-hand side that qualify for that. So pretty much anything that has a full Teams application license, you can buy Teams Phone. So Teams Phone is a Microsoft Cloud PBX for organizations that want to eliminate their hardware-based phone system. New and existing phone numbers can be assigned to users via the Teams Admin Center, and you'd need to have the Teams Service Admin role to manage this. Sorry, I'm just getting a bit of a delay on my slides. Okay, so here you can see some of the calling plan examples. And then we have Operator Connect, which is the new operator managed service for bringing PSTN calls into Teams. It allows you to keep your preferred operator and contracts while enabling a modern calling experience in Teams. This is a partner program, so the service charges are managed through the participating partners, and it is fairly new. So new partners are being added all of the time. So it's kind of good to keep an eye on, you know, who's being added to this. So it's important to be aware that audio conferencing, phone systems, and calling plans are not available in every region. There is a site where you can check availability prior to investing in a solution, which I've linked on this slide. Dialing out to premium numbers and those not included in a set list of countries, which is called the Zone A list, is paid for by communications credits. 60 minutes per user per month is allocated as part of the audio conferencing free of charge license that you now add on. But they can also be purchased separately in the M365 Admin Center. A point to note with communications credits as well is that they need to be used within 12 months of purchase, otherwise they're lost. Okay, so moving on to advanced communications. So this is another add-on user subscription license for users already licensed with Teams with one of the enterprise, frontline worker, or business plans. It includes advanced meeting customization, things like together mode, tools to manage your communication policies, and custom policy packages, and custom branded meeting lobbies as well to brand the pre-join experience for your users and customers. Each user will require a license in order to receive the custom policy package assignments. That's worth being aware of if you are looking to group your users into what they can and can't do. So another one to look into, auto attendance and call queues require an associated resource account. So all resource accounts that require a phone number must be assigned a Teams phone license. There's a more cost-effective way to cover this, as once an organisation has at least one paid-for Teams phone license, they're entitled to 25 free virtual user licenses. And then on top of that, every 10 paid-for Teams phone licenses entitles you to one additional free virtual user license. So obviously, if you don't need the additional 10 Teams phone licenses on top of that, you could just assign a Teams phone license to the virtual auto attendant. They still need to be purchased and assigned via the M365 Admin Center in the same way that you would manage a paid-for license. So that's something to be aware of with the free ones. You still need to obviously make sure that they're assigned to your virtual attendants. Another scenario for the use of Teams is for a device which is shared by multiple users without logging in with their own Office 365 credentials. There are two different license types for this. There's a common area phone device license, which is assigned to a Teams phone in an area such as a lobby where guests can make or receive phone calls. Licensing the device means that any user is covered to make calls. However, it does not include a calling service, so you would either need to connect this with your existing telephony provider or purchase a calling plan for the device. Teams Rooms comes in standard and premium options, and they cover meetings and calling functionality for meeting room devices. Both standard and premium also include Intune for deployment and management. And the difference with the premium license is that it includes managed services for the product where it's geographically available. I've added this slide in quickly to address some more changes in this product area to a license called Microsoft Business Voice. This was launched as a solution intended for SMB customers restricted to the maximum of 300 seats, as you see in other business plans. It includes audio conferencing, phone system, and a calling plan, and it's also available without one. As new plans have been added, the names have been changed, and obviously now audio conferencing is included free of charge. So for simplification of the options available in audio services, this is being phased out, and Teams phone with calling plan or without a calling plan will be the recommended license moving forwards. If you're using Business Voice, then you still have the option up until the end of this month to renew that subscription. But after that, or if you renew and then following the end of that subscription, you will be required to change to a Teams phone license. Okay, so now we're going to look at a product called Microsoft Viva. Apologies, just having a couple of issues sharing this. There we go, back into presenter view. So the employee experience and collaboration platform, Viva. Microsoft Teams is the only solution with meetings, calls, chat, content collaboration, and business process workflows, all in a secure, integrated user experience. Viva was developed because Microsoft recognized they needed to do more to empower people to feel connected, supported, and able to bring their best selves to work. Available in Viva today, there are 4 different modules: Connections, Insights, Topics, and Learning. You can buy all 4 of these together in a Viva user subscription license for just over £9 per user per month. There's still a promo on at the moment though, so it should be 20% less than that from RRP. You can buy them as individual modules with the exception of Connections. So I will run through separately how each of those are licensed. The prerequisites for the suite license is met by most M365 and Office 365 plans, including the business plans, Frontline worker, and also academic plans, which you can see listed at the top of the slide there. Viva Insights is probably the product that you'll be most familiar with, as it was formerly Workplace Analytics, and it offers data-driven recommendations around looking after your well-being and boosting your productivity. Also, any user of M365 plans with Exchange Online may have already seen the version of Insights included as part of their license in the Teams menu. With the Insights features included in M365 plans for Exchange Online, you get personal recommendations, which help you build better working habits, such as practicing mindfulness, taking regular breaks, and scheduling focus time. You also get daily briefing and monthly digest emails, a personal insights dashboard, and AI-powered Outlook suggestions around email delivery and office hours, and whether you should schedule meetings back to back, so that you can allow attendees breaks so that, well, obviously they don't burn out. So you can see how this would be useful in the modern working environment. The paid user license adds to this, though, insights for managers, senior business leaders, and for team level and organization level working habits to identify and prevent burnout and stress and drive a more effective and agile working culture. It also provides the ability to create custom insights and use Power BI report templates to make data-driven decisions across common business scenarios. Each Insights user license includes one capacity unit per user per month, which is pooled at tenant level. We're going to have a quick look at understanding the capacity units in more depth on the next slide, but they're required to extend the capabilities of Viva Insights, combining with M365 data and also external data from things like CRM and surveys. One thing to note on the capacity credits with the user licenses, any unused credits expire monthly on the anniversary date for the subscription. So let's have a look at the capacity and how that's licensed and what value that adds. The capacity-based features, as I mentioned, can be based on templates or fully customized by a data analyst, and they provide visuals of things like the impact of business transformation projects, granular collaboration patterns across different geographies or areas of the business, as well as between managers and their direct reports. The additional capacity allows you to include data from a wider range of sources, and the annual subscription license gives you 5,000 units of credit to use against queries and reports. The way that these are used is actually quite complex, of course, and the number of units a query consumes is based on a number of factors. So one, the number of measured employees within that query, the number of weeks of data included in the output, the number of metrics used, and the type of metrics used. Different metrics fall into different price tiers, and they have different associated costs. To give you an idea of how these are converted to a unit calculation, I've included a breakdown of the formula on the left here and an idea of how the tiers are priced. If you're using multiple metrics in a query that fall into different price tiers, then you'd work them out separately using the formula, and then you'd add them together to get the total query cost. And I'm sure you're going to be relieved to hear that the Query Designer tool does provide an estimated unit cost for you once you have it, but it's useful to understand how these figures are pulled together so that you can budget for a number of capacity licenses that you might need. Connections is a curated and personalized feed building on the capabilities of SharePoint, Yammer, and Teams to bring relevant news, conversations, and resources into one place to help create an inclusive environment. Viva Connections is not currently available as a separate license, but it's available in part within all M365 and Office 365 enterprise plans, and also as part of the full Viva suite as well. Viva Topics uses AI to automatically search for and identify topics within your organization. It compiles information about them, such as short descriptions, people working on that particular topic, sites, files, and pages that are related to it. Here you can see how a topic card is presented either on a mobile app or a desktop. The exact wording from Microsoft on the requirements for licensing topics is: a license is required for anyone viewing, accessing, curating topic cards, topic pages, topic centers, or otherwise benefiting from Viva Topics capabilities. So in other words, unlike the other modules, any user interacting with the features in any capacity requires that additional license on top of their M365. Viva Learning is a centralized learning hub in Microsoft Teams that lets you seamlessly integrate learning and building skills into your day-to-day. In Viva Learning, users can discover, share, and recommend courses from Microsoft and other content providers. The light version of Viva Learning that's available within the M365 and Office 365 suite, similar to Insights, includes Microsoft's own course content for users to browse and complete. A license is required for anyone who wants to access partner content and learning management systems, recommend content to others, and track completion progress. The prerequisites for this are again at the bottom of the slide, so they are all pretty similar. And finally, for Viva, I just wanted to let you know about the option to buy Viva with the Glint add-on. Glint is the employee experience platform acquired by LinkedIn, and integrated with Viva, it provides the element of employee engagement to complete a more holistic view of the employee experience and how people are feeling about how they're working and not just how they're working. It's increasingly important to consider how we gain feedback, since we can't notice so easily while remote working that Sandra's on her 12th coffee break for the morning and looks unhappy, and then her notice will be landing on your desk before her next quarterly review is even booked. Employee wellbeing and retention means we don't need to wait until we lose our top employees before we identify and resolve problems that could have been prevented in the first place. Glint provides that insight into Viva, and the prerequisites of this are again at the bottom of the slide. So moving on to Windows 365 and Azure Virtual Desktop. So with the release of Windows 365, we now have multiple ways we can now deliver desktops to users as an alternative to installing the applications directly to their devices. Adding that to Windows Virtual Desktop was obviously renamed to Azure Virtual Desktop not all that long ago. And with both of these being desktops hosted in Azure, I thought it would be useful to just run through a few of the key differences and at a high level how they're licensed. So firstly, let's start by looking at some of the key differences. So Windows 365 is a fully managed desktop as a service solution whereby you don't need to be concerned with the management of any of the underlying infrastructure other than the virtual network for the enterprise version. It offers a predictable monthly cost per user, and the storage and compute specifications can be scaled easily depending on the needs of the user. And there is a very useful Microsoft Docs website page actually where you can look at the type of roles, functionality that users might need and match that up to a spec. So obviously if that's something that you can't find and is of interest, let me know. Azure Virtual Desktop, on the other hand, allows organizations more control over the underlying infrastructure, and the virtual machines, storage, and networking costs are paid for on a consumption basis through your Azure subscription, in addition to the user access rights to the desktop operating system and the applications. There's also the option with Azure Virtual Desktop to choose a Windows client or Windows Server desktop in the same way that you would on an on-premises VDI. So including the requirement for a VNet, there are some differences in the prerequisites between the business and enterprise versions of Windows 365. So as the name would suggest, the business version is aimed at smaller businesses and carries the 300 user quantity cap. So with this version, you don't need to set up a virtual network, and the bandwidth of the outbound data is based on the RAM of the cloud PC that you've subscribed to. There aren't license prerequisites for business, but the features such as device management can be used with it if a user is licensed for Microsoft Endpoint Manager, such as Intune or Configuration Manager. For users already licensed with Windows 10 or 11 Pro on their primary work device, they're eligible for discounted prices for the operating system in Windows 365. And that's known as Windows 365 Business with Windows Hybrid Benefit License Assignment Eligibility. It's quite a long description on the SKU, but it's worth it for the discount if you already have it. The Windows 365 Enterprise is aimed at large organizations with the expectation that they will have likely already invested in solutions to that effect. So in addition to the Azure VNet, they will also need each user to be licensed with Windows 10, 11 Enterprise, Intune, and Azure Active Directory Premium Plan 1 or 2. So if we look back over now to Azure Virtual Desktop and cover the licensing in a little bit more depth here. So the Azure infrastructure element of this solution, as we mentioned, is charged on a consumption basis in the same way that it would be if you were using public cloud-based infrastructure for any other purpose. Or you can commit to a reserved instance for these as well to help reduce your costs. Then there are the user access rights to consider, which depend on whether it's a client or server desktop scenario. So if you kind of look over here to the right, you can see with the server desktop scenario, you would need the RDS CALs, and then the opposite, we're looking at the 365 licenses. For anyone in the process of upgrading from Windows 7, you can actually get virtual desktops for free with extended security updates, or rather the extended security updates are free up until January 2023. And then lastly, the final product that I wanted to look at is Intune. So it's really changed the landscape of the modern workplace. So although it's technically part of the enterprise mobility and security plan, with security being covered in depth in another session today, I wanted to include it in the modern workplace overview. Microsoft Intune is the cloud-based service focusing on mobile device management and mobile application management. It's not a replacement for Configuration Manager unless you decide on a 100% cloud-based solution, and they're both referred to now as Microsoft Endpoint Manager solutions, as they can integrate and work side by side. They can both be managed either from their own respective separate portals or both from the Microsoft Endpoint Manager portal. If they're managed together, that's known as co-management. With Intune, you can set rules, configure settings, and deploy apps on both personal and organization-owned devices, including mobile. On personal devices, it allows you to keep corporate data safe and isolate it from personal data. That way, if someone leaves, you can wipe the company data without running the risk of deleting your users' personal files. As mentioned, it's included in most M365 plans today, so E3, E5, Frontline worker plans, M365 F1 and F3, and also M365 Business Premium. These are all user licenses since they are in user plans. You can buy them standalone, and you can also buy them on a device basis as well. So device licenses are used in scenarios such as on shared devices in public areas, and they're also included in some of the plans such as Teams Rooms. So that's Intune. So if you are looking to adopt more cloud technology, then there are a number of ways we can help, one of those being Fast Track. You may already be aware of this program, and this can be used for an increasing number of products, now including Viva. So for those that haven't, it's a service designed by Microsoft and delivered by Bytes to help you realize business value faster with the Microsoft Cloud. We would provide you best practice guidance in 3 areas, so planning, onboarding, and adoption. 150 plus user licenses is the respective technology is the criteria for qualifying for this. So if you're interested to find out more, then please reach out to your Bytes account manager. We can also deliver a number of workshops across these areas as well. So these are mostly across modern workplace security and also the employee experience. So Viva obviously sits within there. So if you'd like to know more about those and go into a more in-depth assessment and planning session, these can also be arranged via your Bytes account manager. So thank you for joining me today, and I hope you found this useful. If you do have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself if you can, or type those questions in the chat. I will take a look at those now. For anyone that has more in-depth questions, which I appreciate can happen a lot within this area, as a lot of things are agreement-based and kind of vary depending on where you are at in your journey or in your agreement term, then I've included my email at the bottom there again, so that we can either answer your question directly, or we can set up a one-to-one call and we can answer all your questions there as well.